I'm Kaylee, and I am here to tell you the do's and don'ts of reading classics. So I have read a lot of classics over many years, and I have my favorite authors and my favorite books, and I've tackled some pretty large classics and some small ones. I'm kind of picky about what I call a classic. To me, anything that was written before World War I is a classic. Anything that was written after World War I is a modern classic. There's a definite shift in the way that books were written right around World War I. So 1914, 1915, right in there is kind of the cutoff, to my mind anyway. So while the tips and advice that I'm about to give you certainly apply to modern classics, as I wrote my list of do's and don'ts, I was thinking of classics from before World War I. So I'm sure that many people have different ideas of what a classic means to them. I'm just telling you what a classic means to me. So my very first piece of advice is don't bite off more than you can chew. If you're not used to reading classics, do not start with War and Peace. Do not start with Moby Dick. Those are massive books and they're very dense. Start with something small and short and something that's, a little easier to read. Just because it isn't War and Peace doesn't mean that it doesn't have value and doesn't mean that you shouldn't be proud of yourself for having read that classic. Number 2, do find an author that you like and then read all of their books. So if you read one Dickens book and you find, hey, I really like Dickens, go and find some more of his books and read more of his stuff. Or if you read Sir Walter Scott and you decide, man, I just love Sir Walter Scott, I'm going to read all his stuff. Please do that because you've found your bliss. And so just follow it. Just read it all. Number 3, don't get bogged down in the language. A lot of the time with classics, the language, even the sentence structure can be kind of complex. Don't let that intimidate you. A lot of the time, they're trying to get across a pretty simple idea, but they're just using really big flowery language. So you don't have to understand every single word. As long as you get the general gist of what's going on, then you're fine. You know the story, you understand what's happening. Just because there's a few words that, that are not in your vocabulary, then that's okay. You don't have to know every word. Number 4 is do get a dictionary app. I love learning new words and expanding my vocabulary. So if you're sitting there reading a classic and you come across a word you don't understand, that is awesome. Just whip out that app on your cell phone and look up the word. On my cell phone, I have a Webster's dictionary, and it doesn't take up very much memory, and I love that thing. It can be really helpful just to have a dictionary app right at your fingertips. You come across a word you don't know, and boom, you just learned something new. Number 5 is don't read too fast. A lot of the time, there's very dense writing in classics, and the story can be very complex. The story structure is all over the place, so you have to take your time. Don't expect that you're going to read a classic at the same rate that you normally read. It's probably going to take a little bit longer because classics tend to be longer books, and then because the writing tends to be more dense, the plots tend to be a little more complex. There's a lot more going on in the plots than maybe we're used to in modern writing. So don't go into it thinking, oh, I'm just going to read this in 3 days. Even I don't do that. Don't be afraid to just take your time, take a month and read it. Take, a while longer than you usually would read it. And don't get frustrated when it takes longer. Classics just take longer. Number 6 is do take a break. If you start getting bogged down and you're starting to get frustrated and the classic just feels like it's way too long, take a little break. Go read something else that's fluffy and fun for a couple of days and then come back to the classic, and that little break will refresh you and you'll be ready to dive back in. Number 7 is don't give up. Yes, take a break, but don't completely give up. Make sure you actually come back and finish reading the classic. Trust me, there are so many classics, they start out really slow, and then finally in the middle, things will start to pick up, and the ending is so worth it. Please, please don't give up on classics. It is worth it in the end, I promise. And number 8 is do explore different types of classics. Some people think all classics are made alike, and I'm here to tell you they're not. You can explore different genres, different eras. I mean, classics from different centuries and different decades will be completely different from each other. Different authors will have completely different writing styles. Not all classics are made alike. So the best thing that you can do is explore different types of genres and authors and eras until you find your thing that you really love. And then you are well on your way to enjoying reading classics. Please leave a comment down below and let me know what are your favorite classics and what was it that first got you loving reading classics. Down below there's a link to a little quiz where you can send me some feedback about my channel, so please click down below. It's only 7 questions. It won't take you that long. If you want to donate to the Missionary Kids, you can do so at GoFundMe.com. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching. And remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.